All it took was a little home cooking and Trea Turner back from the IL for the Phillies to get shit right yesterday against the San Diego Padres. We're going to continue talking Phillies, and we're also going to continue the thread from yesterday that we are convincing ourselves that a bad idea, a.k.a. Paul George on a max contract, is a good idea. And we're going to kind of dive into some of the other ideas we thought as Phillies fans were bad. We knew were bad ideas, but we convinced ourselves were good ideas. Trending the AM with Steve joining me for the whole entire episode. We are live, taking your thoughts and opinions right here on EOP in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome one, welcome all to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Hit those like, share, subscribe, retweet, follow buttons wherever you are watching, whatever platform you are on. Make sure you hit those buttons and get the word out to join the conversation, to join the number one morning show in Philadelphia, to join the only show that is not following the rest and talking more Jalen Hurts drama every single day. We're talking different things. We're having fun. We're bringing the conversation to you and letting you talk what you want. I am your host, Phil Stiefel, every single morning right here on Trending in the AM. Joining me today is one of my new best friends right here in the world, Steve Fuentes, Sat Soldier Steve 247, and one of the co-hosts of the Attacking Third right here on Edge of Philly. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to this side of the morning show screen. You're normally in the comments, but you're sitting side by side with me this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. I have, like you said, I'm always on the comment side. So now sitting on this side of it, definitely get to take it all in with the, what do you call them? The core 12, right?
The core 12. And G's already jumping in.
Yeah, the
Kyle
core
Schwarber
12.
is
So
the Juna Bomber. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if that has a good ring to it or not, but, you know, I like where you're going with that. Is he a friend of yours or a friend of ours? He's a friend of everybody, K1. Guys, we got lots on the agenda today. We're obviously going to talk last night's Phillies game and all the things going on with the Phillies right now. Obviously, Trea Turner back in the lineup. Obviously, back home and home cooking was good for them. Mundo Sosa taking reps in left field. Obviously, they sent Johan Rojas down to the minors, so we're going to cover all that. We're also going to continue the thread from yesterday of Paul George to the Sixers is a bad idea. We know it's a bad idea. We're convincing ourselves it's a good idea, but also other moments in Philly sports that same thing kind of happened. That, you know, we knew it was a bad idea, but we convinced ourselves it was an okay idea. And there's lots of them with a lot of different teams. So we got that on the agenda as well, plus whatever else comes up. Maybe we'll talk about Terrell Lewis. I didn't even know who Terrell Lewis was till I saw a video yesterday of him. Steve's looking like he doesn't even know who Terrell Lewis is right off the bat. Obviously, I also want to recap briefly the fact when we're talking basketball. I forgot to put my glasses on. No wonder I can't see the screen. Talked that the Celtics did win their 18th NBA championship last night in probably the most boring NBA finals there have been in ages. And it's not boring because there were two boring teams. It was boring just because Boston was that much better than the Dallas Mavericks. So, we're going to get right into it. Steve, real quick, for the morning show that doesn't know you, the morning show crew, you've been on Fairway to Heaven a few times. But just give
Mhm.
everybody a little idea of who you are, your background, what got you started talking all sports and getting involved in EOP. Just give everybody a little background so they know who Steve is.
Yeah, so I'm a sports nerd. I've always been into sports. While most kids were playing at the playground and stuff like that, I was watching the sports reporters on Sunday morning, getting ready for the games and stuff. So it's just the stupid facts that are in my head about random things that it's like, why would you know that? You were like 6 when that happened, and it's like, I don't know. So just the love for me, it'll always be the love of the game before really any team. For me, and then with fantasy sports, you know, uh, when that came in, DFS, it just really made it easier to watch those like Thursday games, and then it just all the stuff started clicking. Like, wow, okay, I can see why people really do this stuff on every single level. You didn't have to play the game. The John Claytons of the world,
Mm-hmm.
he guys like that. When you saw him on TV, it was like, what did he do? What position did he play when he knows all this stuff? And it's so just doing all that growing up. I was in the army for 8 years, so so I was able to interact with all the guys there. Yep, there it is. You detect right, my man. Uh, so, being able to interact with all the guys there in the army about sports, it just build that comradeship and stuff like that, being around other people who really like to talk sports. And then, of course, getting into this, into the doing podcasts and everything like that. I started off over at Old City Sports and then came over here to EOP. And it's been, being around people like yourself, Al, of course, Pat doing the attacking third, being able to be
Mm-hmm.
up in the press box covering the Union. It's been, full circle from what I was back, as a kid watching, like I said, the sports reporters to now, in a sense, being up in the press box post game interviewing Jim Curtin and stuff like that. So it's and the players. So it's been a treat and really mentally for me, uh, grounding to be able to do this stuff, tune into the shows. You talked about that a few Fridays ago
Mm-hmm.
with Sia, and it
Yep.
was just to hear it from other people who have made it now in
Yep.
this industry. It's like, wow, okay. And to go through those struggles of, mental and, uh, you know, can I do this in a sense? It's like being around people that do it and have that same thought. It's like, you know what? This is the right place to be and everything. So
Dude, we got some sarcastic ass comments coming in already on you. But we're gonna
I
go back
gotta
to some of the
go back and
actual
look.
comments, and now that they know who you are, we could dive into the conversation. I love this comment from Rick. The NBA is a broken product. I don't know if it's broken, but it was not a pleasant NBA playoffs for lots of reasons. Obviously, Marshawn saying it's going to be a painful because he has zero faith that this offseason is going to go well. This conversation that we started yesterday, that we are convincing ourselves that Paul George is is the answer, even though we know it's not the answer. And we will get to Philly shortly here, guys. Um, it's frustrating because you watch the NBA Finals and you watch how teams are built. And I know the Mavericks were 1,000% outclassed by the Boston Celtics, but even they are built a certain way that the Sixers aren't. And it's frustrating because we want to be there. And I know everybody's sharing the 2016, 2017 draft classes because obviously we took Ben Simmons or Markel Fultz. The Celtics took Tatum and Brown, or Brown and Tatum, whatever order it was. And I know it's frustrating. It's super frustrating. But we as fans can't accept we can't convince ourselves to accept poor decision making from this franchise, which is on the cusp of, and I've said this before, Steve, that this offseason, if it goes wrong, we're not going back into the process era. We're going darker and deeper and further down the rabbit hole if we fail this offseason. And I mean Daryl Morey, you know, why are Sixers fans convincing themselves? And have you convinced yourself, or did you already believe that Paul George was the right answer?
I have never been a Paul George fan. Like dating back to his days in Indiana. Like he couldn't beat LeBron. So then he goes to where did he go next? Did he just go to no, he went to OKC,
Mm-hmm.
right? He went to OKC and it was the same thing. You teamed up with guys, you were supposed to be the man there, couldn't do it. Then you go over to LA to the Clippers, supposed to be, oh yeah, they're going to bring the Clippers, him and Kawhi, they're going to bring the Clippers. No. So like why fall into the same trap that all the other fan bases did with Paul George? And I feel like those other fan bases really wanted Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was, I know he was drafted to Indiana, but they really loved him there. It's going to take him like a month to realize I, if I have one bad game, this fan base is eating me alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like these other fan bases. So you go ahead and go invisible for a few nights like you do with
Mm-hmm.
these other teams, and you're going to get eaten alive here. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fall in that trap. I did with one of my things that players that I have for who we thought was going to be a savior was the Al Horford signing back in, what was that,
We convinced
2019?
ourselves that that was a good idea. We definitely did.
Because he was the Embiid stopper
Yeah.
from the playoffs in the season before. And it's like, no, I'm glad. Look, I'm glad he went and got his ring and all that
Yeah.
last night, but that was such a bad decision. And I talked myself into it
Yeah.
because of how good he was. Florida, Atlanta, when he did play his first stint in Boston. So it was like, oh yeah, he's going to come here, be that second big. Nope, wrong.
Yeah, we convinced ourselves that him and Embiid side by side were going to be this nasty big man pair. We knew it wasn't going to work, but we convinced her. And I feel like as I'm trying to think about ideas we convinced ourselves were going to work, most of them that I have written down are Sixers related, not Phillies or Eagles. There are a few of those too, but there's way more Sixers
So
things
many.
just in the last 10 to 15 years that we've convinced ourselves were the right moves. And it's crazy. It's not convincing yourself. Feels like I don't think he's inevitable because I do think there's a leverage play in play here. And we're not settling. Paul George is not the answer at all. Nothing will make this team a winner, mostly because Embiid is off injured. And Tech, you missed the show yesterday. At least you weren't in the comments. And I came up with something spur of the moment, out of left field. Didn't think about it. I put it on Twitter, and I thought I was either going to get completely crushed or ignored with it. And I put out there a poll, and I talked about it for 5 minutes yesterday, and I want to dive into it again because of this. Paul George is a bad idea. Would you rather Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George for the next 4 years or so, or would you rather Tyrese Maxey, Mikal Bridges, and Laurie Markkinen? And yes, that means you trade Joel Embiid. And I don't want to trade Joel Embiid. I'm going down with the ship. But in theory, and let me tell you something, there's only about 65 votes, Steve, on this poll so far. And it's only 58-42 right now. It's actually a really close vote. 58% are saying you keep Embiid and bring in Paul George. 42% are you go out and you get rid of Joel Embiid. And I'm kind of shocked that I either thought everybody would be fed up and say, get rid of Joel Embiid, or everyone would say, you keep Joel Embiid, you're an idiot. And it would be like 90-10. One way or another, I thought this poll was going to go. And a lot of Sixers Nation, and even in the comments, people were voting for Joel, but then commenting, but it's a really close call right now. Like, it's insane to think of where we're at with this team and building around Joel with Paul George. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah. It's not. it's one of those situations that reminds me that it feels like by December, early December, they're going to be talking about who can we trade Paul George for? What sort of assets can we
Yeah.
use at the trade deadline to get him out of here? Because it's not going to work. And it's like what some of the comments are saying, how it's inevitable. Like I do feel, especially with what was that game 4 when Embiid was up there and he did the whole, he looked over at Paul George when he made the comment. So it's like things like that you kind of already feel. And aren't they both on Team USA?
Yeah.
So they're going to spend all summer together. So I feel like it's one of those things. It just hit me. Are they going to make the signing early and then they go build some chemistry in the summer at the Olympics together and they come back and everyone's able to see them play, probably win gold, and it's like, oh, maybe this will work, and then that'll be the convincing moment that we're all like, you know what, this could work, they did it in the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm torn on that as well. It's funny. We were talking about yesterday, and everyone's talking about all weekend about Embiid being on the pregame show set with Paul George, and it was kind of like he was already recruiting him and all, or he was flirting with Paul George. It was the joke going around. But you almost also, if you look closely at Paul George's expressions and body language. I'm a big body language guy. I almost feel like Paul George felt that was awkward and
He
didn't
was
want to
like,
be, recruited by Joel Embiid, which tells me maybe it is really just a leverage play, so to speak. And the thing is, and I want to bring this up, everyone's saying trade Joel Embiid because he's always hurt or move on from Embiid because you can't win with a big man. We also don't ever see Joel Embiid out there actively recruiting specific players to come play here. He's not out there like LeBron James saying, give me this guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, give me this guy. We need this guy. We need that guy. Like Joel Embiid, he's a weird case to me, like to study the personality of Joel Embiid. And like, I don't know. Like he's 30 now. Like he hasn't grown up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know like how to describe the personality of Joel Embiid.
he's a WWE guy.
Yeah, to an extent,
So
yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure.
he's like perfect for, I can see him. He's like the Gronk almost of the NBA, where his personality is prime, like the stuff, how he acts on the court, how he acts off the court and stuff. Like he seems like a fun guy, but like you said,
Yeah.
he's 30 now, and he doesn't really do the recruiting at all. Like the only person I
And
can really
I'm
think
not
of that
saying
he
I'm not
was
saying he has to, but that's what you see the elite superstars do. You
do,
see
yeah.
them doing the recruiting.
The only player I can think of that he was really outspoken about was Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only
Yeah.
player that really comes to mind that he was like, I really want him to, to stay here and be a Sixer and stuff like that. So yeah, no, that
Hold on,
part
real
is
quick. Sorry,
interesting
Brian
because
saying Paul
good.
George is not on the Olympic team.
Okay.
Even the Olympic
Okay.
team knows Paul George is not an elite star anymore. But Terrell Morey's going to pay him to be an elite star. So this comment from Brian, we could just end the show right here, Steve. We can go about our day now. This proves that Paul George is not an elite star anymore. Just so you know. Sorry, continue on. I still think there's a chance Maxey takes another step into
And
stardom. Go ahead.
and it's do players want to play with Embiid?
I think it's a fair question to ask. Do they want to play
You
with him?
know,
I mean, what
it,
stars have been
they
brought in here and not traded for? Maxey or not Maxey? Maxey was drafted. Butler and
Mhm.
Harris were traded for. Horford got overpaid, but wanted out right away. What stars actually signed here in free agency?
I don't want to defend him for any sort of reason, but did Ben Simmons not want to play with him? Is that why, he was already, a head case
Mm-hmm.
already for all his antics and all that crap. But James Harden, there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put him on the list of people who we knew was going to be a bad idea. Then uh, we try to talk ourselves into him being a good idea. But the NBA, I think the
Marshawn
All
saying no one wants to
Stars,
play with him, and I think
yeah,
I think it's a fair statement to make. I don't know why though, because he is in a all this Joel Embiid talk, he is an elite player. Are we going to argue that he's not an elite player? I mean, he's an elite player when healthy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why don't
Well,
people want to play with him? Why can't he get over the hump? Like it's insane.
I think it's his position. A lot of people, you look league wide, besides maybe Jokic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is look at AD, Anthony Davis, another big who, you know, I
Most
really don't
overrated
think
big in basketball.
he's ever going to win. Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to win another ring, especially not being the main guy.
No.
But I can't think of any other bigs out there that they're the main guy and the ball and the game is going to go through them, inside out. No other all-star wants to go through their big as the main option. You want that three, you want that stretch four who, Deeb says it all the time. You want that wing player who can do it all, shoot the three, defend. He doesn't need to be the best defender, but he needs to be able to defend the other team's best player, which always tends to be the 3 and the 4. And for whatever reason, they just don't really want to play with Embiid.
And there's great comments coming in about this topic here. And he's not an enjoyable player to play with. Nobody's going to come here to ball because it's going to Joel. Nobody wants to come to Philly, period. Lots of great comments. And it made me and this again, this is just popping and Steve, this is the way it works. Like I come up with ideas on the whim. So this might sound stupid, okay? The problem with Joel is he can't be the focal point. He needs to be the one big, the two to the one. He needs an alpha dog. Does all that we're saying here about Joel Embiid mean that if Joel Embiid is not getting traded, then the correct answer is LeBron James to be the person here? Not because LeBron James is the second greatest basketball player of all time, but because LeBron James is an alpha dog. LeBron James will know how to put Joel Embiid in his place. You want to win a title? I've won titles. This is how you do it. Follow me, and we'll go places. Is that what they need, the Sixers? And then if Joel Embiid can't handle it, then Joel Embiid asks out and kind of forces the hand, and then we get to move on and move forward with this, this franchise. Is that what the team? And maybe using LeBron James is the wrong way to do it. We just need the alpha male to be here that can actually. James Harden couldn't stand up to Joel. Ben Simmons couldn't stand up to Joel. LeBron James would have no problem standing up to Joel Embiid.
Yeah, and I don't think many people want Jimmy Butler, now post 3-4 seasons from when everyone wanted him, because he would be the next person probably that would, just because they already have that chemistry and that friendship.
But
But
Butler is
did you
not
see
that
that?
same player.
Yeah, exactly. So did you see that picture floating around of what was like super pixelated of what looked like LeBron with
It was
Daryl
Elton Brand.
Morey and what? Okay, yeah. So
I'm 98.9% sure that was Elton Brand, not LeBron James. But we'll just leave that at that.
Oof, man, another Elton Brand's another one on my list of.
Oh my God, convinced ourselves that was just because he did a really good job with the blue coat. Just so you know, Marshawn, AD is not a top 75 player. AD is the most overrated big man of the last 25 years in the NBA. I've said it before. I'll say it again. We talk about Joel Embiid's fragileness. AD is even more fragile than Joel Embiid. And I think AD is the most overrated, overhyped guy there is. We drafted that guy and traded him for a peanut allergy. The alpha dog we traded. Yeah. Reality check. I'm not ready for it. It's near impossible to reel it around a high usage big like Embiid. Today's NBA. Absolutely agree with you, Deebs, on that. Sign LeBron and have him build the roster. Yeah, just sign LeBron and have him teach the roster how to win. Because whether you like it or not, LeBron is still an elite player in the NBA, even at 65 years old. Yeah. He still is more athletic and more physical than it. I mean, without a doubt, he can even include his son. I don't think the son has to be included, Marshawn, but I agree. No, stop. Kobe's top 5, but he's not number 2, just so you know. And I love Kobe. The amount of players we traded away, let walk away of free agent. It is. I mean, we're talking today worst ideas that we thought were good ideas. We can look at the NBA Finals last night. The process started by trading Drew Holiday, someone we knew had a lot of potential to be an all-star caliber player. And that started the bad ideas. And now look at Drew Holiday, multi-time champion now, right? He won more than one championship, right? He was with
Because
Milwaukee when they won
Milwaukee,
theirs.
yeah.
A multi-time champion, a guy that's like borderline MVP for the finals. That was a bad idea. We convinced ourselves it was a good idea that Michael Carter Williams was going to be better than Drew Holiday. Boy, were we wrong. Draft the son, sign the dad. Heroes. Are you saying save the cheerleader here? You know, you're getting a little heroes reference there from me. I like that. Save Bronny, save the city. Yeah, I like it. I like where we're going there. TJ, Mikal, Dario, Isaiah Joe. Yeah, none of those were, well, Mikal Bridges might be the answer that we're looking for, but we've traded away so many players. Has top 75 talent, but not top 70. Exactly. This is exactly it right here from Tech. Tech is on board with this here. Imagine having TJ, Mikal, Isaiah Doe, Dario on this team. I can live with Drew because he came at the genesis. He started the process, basically. That was the first big trade. After we got Andrew Bynum and that failed, then they're like, let's start the process. So let's trade Drew. What was that? It was we traded Drew. We got the 6th pick. With the pick that came, Nerlens Noel. We got like 2 or 3 things. Michael Carter Williams, Nerlens Noel, and something else there. But yeah, I didn't want to root for LeBron. I don't want to. I don't hate rooting for LeBron. People love to hate on LeBron, Steve. I love to root on greatness. And I was taught by my father at a very young age, you don't have to like the team or the player, but if you know that person's great, you never know if you're ever going to see. Like I was taught when I was young, you don't like Michael Jordan, that's fine. But you're never going to see another player like Michael Jordan again. So you respect the greatness. And I feel that same way fits with LeBron James.
No, so to go back a little bit. So LeBron's my favorite player. Him and Allen Iverson are my favorite players of all time, right? So being able to watch both of them, it just was incredible what they're able to do. So I am 100% one of those, especially in way years past, one of those LeBron blind witnesses. You know, what does Skip Bayless used or call them? The blind witnessers. So, but now at this point, like I've gotten old enough and I've grown up enough to know now the show that comes with LeBron, and they don't need that here. They already have a show because of Daryl Morey. So I don't want it here.
Well,
As much as I would love to be able to, like,
that. I understand not wanting the show. Well, I do want the show personally, Steve, because, and I've said this before sarcastically, LeBron coming here would create great content for Trent in the AM every single day. You know what I mean? It's a show. So I put on a show, so it creates great, conversation and talking points. So for me, LeBron's the perfect answer because, man, that would help the algorithm tenfold on a daily basis. But we just agreed, you need an alpha dog next to Joel Embiid. So if you're not going to bring an alpha dog in here, does that mean you've got to trade Joel Embiid then?
I'm now convincing myself that yeah.
I didn't know today was going to be
not for Paul
to
George.
trade him. Yeah.
Not the Paul George. I don't like the Paul George scenario at all.
Yeah.
So, but the Lauri Markkanen, Maxey, and Mikal Bridges, I mean, I want to know who else is being built around. Like, do you go get like a Caruso then with that to be another like defender with a Klay Thompson? Then that's a lot of guards and stuff like that on a team. And so I'd want to know who else do you keep Reed then if Markkanen comes in, and it's like, oof.
I'm reading these comments and I just it just like let me go back to this one. Where was it? Oh shoot. I forget where the comment was. Anyway, it basically said you go get LeBron James, you try to win a title, and if not, then you trade Joel. Hold on, where was it? I can't find it. Anyway, Someone said you trade Joel if you bring in LeBron, it doesn't work. And the other thing with LeBron that makes it a better idea is that you could get LeBron on a 2-year contract. We're talking 4 years with Paul, 35-year-old Paul George for 4 years versus 38-year-old LeBron on a 2-year or a 1-1 or something like that. Then if you can't win with LeBron, then you can't win. And when I say win, I mean at least advance past the second round.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know this show was going to turn into, like, we're talking about awful ideas. We're convincing ourselves are the right idea. Is trading Joel Embiid an awful idea that I'm convincing myself is a good idea? Maybe that, like 2 years from now, this topic might need to be revisited and add Joel Embiid's name to it.
It's our heart that hurts the most because everyone knows what Embiid has meant to the city, what he's done for the community, off the court and stuff like that. So that's the part that hurts the most from people to be able to understand the business side of it versus the love for Joel Embiid side of it.
Yeah, I agree. The fans turned on B-ball Paul. Yeah, we did turn on him. Look, I've been saying it since day one. Paul Reed is a great backup to Joel Embiid, but he's a terrible guy when Joel Embiid sits. And I've been saying that since before this season, that he can only play the 10-minute backup center role. He can't play, and that was the problem. And I swear, and it's not just Andre Drummond. There probably were other options at the deadline. Daryl Morey cost this team by not getting a center when Joel Embiid went down in a trade, someone that could start, because we knew right from the get-go Mo Bamba and Paul Reed could not play more than 10 or 12 minutes a game, and that's the max. And we could keep him for cheap because, again, his contract had that out clause. They could tear it up. His contract's voided because we didn't make it to the second round. So you can re-sign him cheaply, but you can't just have Paul Reed here. You need Paul Reed and a Drummond type, a Valanciunas type, someone that has starting experience for those 25 games a year where Joel Embiid is not going to play. Words can't express how little I care about the Sixers anymore. You know, it's funny, K1. This is not the craziest of comments. There's a lot of people in Sixers Nation that feel this way 1,000%. I'm boo the Sixers if they get LeBron. There's a lot of LeBron hate out there. I get it. I do. Harden made Paul Reed look viable, and then Harden left, and he wasn't. I think Kobe better than Bron, but I would be elated if we signed LeBron to get us a ring. I'm all for star hunting if that's what it takes. But you look at the two teams that are in the NBA Finals, the winner and the Western Conference champion. They didn't go star hunt. They had two stars. One team drafted both their stars. The other team drafted one and brought in a casted off Kyrie Irving, and they built a roster. So I don't know. Remember how much we were against Michael Vick to the Eagles? I was not. I thought it was an exciting idea. That hate ended quickly when he started being, starship number 7. The LeBron hate would end immediately as well. It kills me to say this because Embiid is my favorite Sixer of all time, but I don't know if we can win the chip with him. And Brian, you're right. And this show is going from bad ideas that we convinced ourselves were good to convincing me that trading Joel Embiid is the right answer. And it's funny. And Steve, this was something I did. I don't know if you know Scotty from DSM Media, Scotty Drown, one of the best guys, one of the originals that I met in doing this. And me and him, I was on one of his NBA shows. We're talking 3-4 years ago. I was on his show, and he asked me, if you only could keep one, Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, who was the right one? And I'm like, I want Ben Simmons. You can trade Joel Embiid. I said this 4 years ago because I thought Ben Simmons, the thing that I convinced myself was a great idea that turned out awful. The worst of the worst that I ever convinced myself was I convinced myself Ben Simmons could be the next LeBron James. I did. I really thought Ben Simmons had LeBron James traits in him. I really did. When he was in his first couple years in the league, I thought Ben Simmons was going to be one of the 20 greatest NBA players of all time. That is the worst thing that I convinced myself was going to happen. I did. But like Brian said, you can't win with Joel Embiid as your 1A. You just can't. So if he can't take it, Daryl Morey needs to sit him down. Nick Nurse needs to sit him down and say, we're doing things different next year. You're not the 1A. You're the 1B or the 2. That's it. And if he can't accept that, then you've got to trade him, don't you?
And so now I just came up with like a little trade scenario when you were saying that, because it's, Do you trade him to Phoenix for KD and build around KD
Oh.
and all
I know
that
you're.
in
I
those
know
sort of
what you're
things?
doing here. You're throwing some threads out there for me to switch to some Philadelphia Union talk right there by
Whoa,
saying the KD. That's what you're doing there.
but back to Ben Simmons. I was never even when he was at LSU,
Mm.
he couldn't even lead that team
Yeah.
to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always a big trait with Markelle Fultz. Same thing.
Mm.
They got, I think, no, they didn't make the tournament, and then I think they got bounced in like the first round of the Pac-12
Yeah.
tournament. So that is always one of my biggest things. If you're going to be a top lottery pick,
Mm.
you had to have been able to have at least led your team or been a part of a team that had some sort of NCAA, tournament run, because that is the closest you're going to get to NBA sort of game time, atmosphere, culture, all that sort of stuff. So Ben Simmons didn't have that at all. He was probably one of those AAU guys where his dad was the coach and he was always the best team. He had the best players growing up
Mm.
all the time. And then he goes to LSU and it's like, it's just me here. And his mental is the worst too.
But see, here's the thing. And Deeves is saying the moment we trade Joel, we're a bottom 5 team again. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. If you trade Joel Embiid right now, again, I'm not saying I want to, but I'm just saying if you do right now, you're going to get about 4 first-round picks, at least, maybe 5. I don't know. Last year, I think you could have gotten 5, maybe 4 first-round picks. We've got 5 tradable first-round picks now. We've got $69 million in cap space. You'll be bringing in more cap space by trading Joel. You could theoretically start over with a Marketing, a Bridges, a Maxey, multiple draft picks to trade for other people or bring in more young talent. You can restructure this roster. We always talk about Howie Roseman with the Eagles. He never rebuilds the Eagles. Sometimes you'll have a down year where he's retooling. You might have a 1 or 2 year retooling stretch, but I don't think we're going to go into. I don't think trading Joel 100% means it's just the process all over again. Now, yeah, I don't trust Daryl Morey to make the right decisions there, but what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily mean in today's NBA, the way trades happen and the way cap is being dealt with, I don't think it means it's just like that. It's all over again.
No, but it is very rare when you see the star for star, just straight up sort of trade. It's usually star for a
Yeah.
dump of assets and draft picks to start the rebuild. And it's you start to look league wide and think league wide, who's going to want a Joel Embiid,
Mm-hmm.
because he's going to be asking for a max contract,
Yeah.
and everyone knows league wide his injury history. So what do you really even going to get back in return from a team who knows what they're taking on is already a liability? And it'd be like one of those things where you really need to get a player back in return who at least is still going to be helping Maxey get
Mm-hmm.
the Sixers to the playoffs at least.
Yeah. John, I appreciate your comment and such. And you're saying he's the number one option, but I don't know if you can win a title with Joel Embiid as your number one option. That's all I'm trying to get at here. What's up, Joe? Good morning, my man. Make or break season for the Sixers. Yeah, positivity still out there for some people. I was down on Brick Simmons before everyone else. It was my biggest mistake of my career. I'm known as a flip flopper. It's not. I'm an evolver, in my opinion. I evolved to realize Ben Simmons wasn't the answer. I'll trade Joel for 1 to 2 wings with big time upside. Yeah, I can get on board with it. I can. I see you always, my man. No one is to blame for Brick Simmons, but Brick Simmons. Absolutely agree. Celtics again. It's very frustrating. Yes, it is. No idea if this works, but Embiid to New Orleans for Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and picks. New Orleans? Yeah, I mean, maybe it works.
I would want it. I would want Ingram in that trade though too.
Joel Embiid is not going to want to go to New Orleans, I don't think. And I don't know why New Orleans would want him next to Zion Williamson. That would be just him and Al Horford all over again, potentially. Trade for Jimmy. He's still a top player. I don't know. I don't know, Anthony. I think we're past the Jimmy Buckets era of eliteness. He's still a really good player. I just don't know. And he's just as injury prone as Paul George. And I mean, not injury prone. He misses games a lot, just like Paul George and Joel Embiid. My idea for attorney is still trade. Yeah. Um, bro, why are we talking rebuild when we have 5 picks and a ton of money? I think it's a fair statement. It's a fair statement. It's because we're talking about Paul George. We're convincing ourselves it's a great idea, and it's not a great idea. God, can we talk baseball? Yes, we are going to talk baseball. I was about to do some ad reads, and I want to catch up on comments first. I never thought I'd say this baseball, please. Yeah, because when I get out of diapers was the end of the AI. You were just getting out of diapers then? I was already an adult out of college then. And trade with New Orleans is interesting. It's interesting for us. It's not interesting for New Orleans, in my opinion. Half-ass Mavericks, yeah. Guys, we have some fantastic sponsors here at Trending in the AM and Edge of Philly Sports, and it would be very important for me to take a few minutes here and shout out SherryTickets.com. If you want to go to a Sixers game next year, if you want to go to our Phillies anytime, and you need to get tickets, go check out our friends at cherrytickets.com because they have no hidden fees. You go to the other ticket resellers and you find a $50 ticket. You go to check out, it turns into $200 with all the hidden fees. No hidden fees, and you can get an extra 10% off with EOP 10 at checkout at cherrytickets.com. Sporting events, theater, concert tickets, you name it, they have it. Don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. cherrytickets.com. And, of course, our friends over at phillysportstrips.com. If you want to travel to see your favorite Philadelphia sports team, then travel with the best. phillysportstrips.com. Premium travel and tailgating experience for the best fans around. Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, you name it, they got it. Of course, they got the great trip to Brazil to see the Eagles take on the Packers for week 1 of the NFL season. They also got some great tailgating things like Italian Heritage Night at the park to see the Phillies on August 14th. They got a trip out to Pittsburgh to see the Phillies Pirates. They're taking deposits for spring training next year. For Steve's Philadelphia Union, they got a trip to Miami to see them September 14th. And, of course, they're already promoting some of their great trips to see the Eagles on the road this year to Tampa, to Baltimore. That'll be a day trip. We can go take over Dallas in November to see the Eagles. PhillySportsTrips.com. Make sure when you sign up, you let them know EOP, Trending in the AM is where you heard them. PhillySportsTrips.com. Guys, you're watching Trending in the AM. Make sure you're hitting that like button, that share button, that follow, subscribe button, wherever you're watching. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. We got my main man, Steve Fuentes, sitting with me today. Let me get back to catching up some more comments here. And then maybe we will segue into a little Phillies talk about what I don't know what that means. No, we don't want to talk baseball. So we got some voting for baseball, some voting against baseball. Was there any baseball things that we convinced ourselves was good? There's no baseball things on my list. There's none.
I have one.
Okay, give me your one baseball thing you convinced yourself was a great idea.
The Jake Arrieta signing.
Oh, that was a bad one. That's true.
Yeah, and I convinced
right
myself that this is going to be good, right?
Yeah.
This is what's going to get them over the hump pitching wise because of how great his, it was one of those not what you're doing for me now, but what you did for me in the past sort of.
You know what?
Moments.
I can't say Jake Arrieta. I didn't hate the deal when it was signed. I didn't love it. But I convinced myself his third year, the last year of his contract, he was going to magically find something elite because he was in a contract year and he wanted one more big contract after that. So I convinced myself Jake Arrieta was going to, in his third year, magically turn into a Cy Young candidate. That was mine. That, and I thought I was very high on Dom Brown, downtown Dom Brown. I thought Dom Brown was going to be the next MVP caliber right fielder for the Phillies. I was really high on Dom Brown. And I convinced myself that Charlie Manuel was going to be the worst coach in Phillies history. And boy, was I wrong there, too.
Wow.
I was an anti-Charlie Manuel guy 100%. I'm going to flip a table. If Devin Carter is available at 16-inch, trade it for a win now piece. That's a draft conversation. I don't know the draft. I haven't even looked at one draft prospect in the NBA this year because I'm 1,000% convinced the Sixers will trade that pick. Whether it's on draft night, before draft night, in my mind, there's zero chance the Sixers draft somebody at 16. I want them to, but I don't think they will. Yeah, you need David Archeri to save you, all right. Logical
No,
fans
perfect.
know we need a star player. Yep. Or start over. Yeah. I don't know about starting over. Retooling is different than starting over there, Brian. Under no circumstances am I trading Joel. I'm bringing Paul George in and then using the 5 picks as well. Look, I love it, John. That you are the exact reason why this show, you and people that think like you, and that's not a knock. This show is about this to me. Keeping Joel, I'm keeping John too. I've already said it for a year now. I'm going down with the ship. I'm riding it out till the end of his career if I have to. But we're convincing ourselves that Paul George is the answer, and he is not the answer. He's not. We're convincing ourselves it's good. But comments like this is why I titled the show the way I did. I guess the last time Butler played more than 64 games. Was it 2019? I don't know. Like you're segueing me there to that answer there. PG
With the
would be an
Sixers.
amazing third option, but who's the one option? Joel Embiid can't be the number one. He can't be.
I'm okay with Maxey being the number one guy.
So am I.
I
So am I,
want him to
especially in
be
the
the
regular
number one
season.
guy.
Yeah, I am too. The 4-year max for Paul George is what's scary. It's exactly, Deeps. I can't believe that Sixers fans finally get out of Tobias Harris's contract and want Paul George on an even worse contract. Like I just can't
More
believe
athletic, a more athletic version of Tobias Harris.
Is Paul
Tobias
George more
Harris who can
athletic?
dunk. He
Is
can
Paul
dunk.
George
I
more
will
athletic
say.
now?
Maybe not now, but
At
I
35
mean,
years
even
old on his bad leg and knees, I don't think he is.
his post injury, I think he bounced back pretty well from that freak injury.
Originally, yeah.
From when that was crazy because I remember watching that and it was
Yep.
like,
whenever I see broken legs, I broke my leg similarly. I had a double compound fracture in my leg, almost had my leg amputated from it. So whenever I see those kind of leg and those compound fractures, like it just brings back like recessed memories that I still 20 plus years late. That was 2001. So 23 years later, I'm still suffering from the pains of my injury. It takes a lot. Jimmy took a team to a final a year ago. He averaged 21 and 5 this year. Yeah, I guess the only conversation with Jimmy versus Paul George is Paul George you don't have to trade for. Jimmy you do, and Jimmy you got to give an extension to as well. Golf talk. That's tonight at 6. And I didn't even know. I didn't even invite. I heard Steve's coming on Fairway to Heaven. I got a text message from somebody else that he's coming on tonight.
Yeah, Jason he messaged me and was like, "Hey, what was your score from our?" And I told him, and
You won.
I guess I'm the third. I'm the third winner now.
Yeah.
So
I had a
he was like,
great week in golf, but the only thing I didn't do well in was the one lineup I built on the show. That was the only lineup that stunk. Trading Hunter Pence away was a good idea with an emoji there. Who did we trade Hunter Pence for? I forget the Hunter Pence trade. Anyway,
hold on, let me look it
I
up.
remember being super excited when we traded for Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence was one of my favorite players in baseball when we got him. So that was really good. Convincing myself that extending Ryan Howard was a good idea. Ryan Howard had a freak Achilles accident injury that ended basically his successful portion of his career. But that contract was signed before that. When that contract was signed, he was still an elite MVP caliber home run hitter. So I don't think the Ryan Howard contract was a bad idea. It was the injury after it that was the problem.
Hunter Pence was traded to San Francisco in exchange for Nate Scherholtz, Seth Rosen, and Tommy Joseph. Oof.
Tommy Joseph was. I convinced myself I couldn't wait. There are 2 prospects there: Tommy Joseph and Vince Velasquez. 2 guys we got in trades when we were trading stars away, and I convinced myself those 2 guys were going to be elite prospects. I did. I couldn't wait. I was in a deep dynasty fantasy baseball league, and I had before they came to the Phillies, I had Tommy Joseph and Vinny Velasquez stashed as my minor league players in those teams because I thought those 2 players were going to be elite prospects for the Phillies at some point. I did. Eagles haven't won a Super Bowl yet. 16, 17 hadn't won a Super Bowl yet, and he was on the Chicago Bulls. What? I'm sorry. I got to go back. Guess the last time Butler played 64 games or more was before the Eagles were Super Bowl champions. Okay, all right, I get you. I get it now. I have to put the pieces of that conversation together.
Yeah, that was quite the riddle.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to. Sometimes there's so many comments coming in. I kind of lose track what one person says 2 minutes later. But yeah, I convinced myself that Doug Peterson was going to hurt the Eagles. That the Eagles were looking for Andy Reid light. Pun intended. Yeah, I convinced. I didn't think I was more upset, Big Al, about the Doug Peterson hiring than the Nick Sirianni hiring. I really was. I thought Doug Peterson was a terrible candidate. I thought he was just like to use a wrestling term, a transitional champion. I thought he was just going to be a transit. He was going to be the Brett Brown of the Eagles for a few years. That's what I convinced myself on Doug Peterson. Yes, we were definitely 1,000% wrong on Doug Peterson there for sure.
Did you convince yourself that Chip Kelly was a good hire?
It's on my list. It was the second. I wrote down Paul George is a bad idea. Chip Kelly. I convinced myself. I hated the idea. Then I convinced myself. I remember, watching the first preseason game in the Chip Kelly era, and I had a little piece of scratch paper, and I was writing down how many seconds in between each play, just to track how quick the offense. I'm like, wow, this. And every year in spring train or in preseason time, a Facebook memory pops up with me putting out a comment on Facebook. This is before my Twitter era. Saying 16 seconds, 12 seconds. This is going to be fun. I convinced myself that Chip Kelly was going to be so great.
He's got to be like one of the top college head coaches to try to make it to the NFL and it just not translate.
Dude, Deebs, I had going into the 2020 season, I had Carson Wentz the fourth best coach or quarterback in football. And every tweet I put out, 2020 was my first year in this business. And every tweet, whether it was a Phillies tweet, an Eagles tweet, or a movie tweet, at the end of every tweet, I put in it, hashtag Wentz is elite. I did. And it breaks my heart. Can you guess what my third? So I put Paul George down first, Chip Kelly second. The third thing that I wrote down on my worst ideas that I convinced myself were good ideas.
I'm going to guess it's Eagles related.
No, it is not Eagles related.
No.
It's something that people think I don't like, but I love, and I just don't talk about it because it doesn't sell tickets, is what I like to say. It doesn't bring the people in for the conversation.
If it's Flyers talk,
it is Flyers talk. The
number
three thing
I'm horrible.
on my list.
I'm not a hockey guy.
Okay, so you won't know this. Okay, Mitch, we already covered this. This was the first thing we covered in the bad idea category. Trading away Bobrovsky, the goalie, and bringing in Ilya Bryzgalov, I convinced myself that was a humongous, big, great idea. Now Bobrovsky's won what? 2 Stanley Cups? 3 Stanley Cups as a goaltender? And here we are still with no goaltender in Philadelphia because of Carter Hart. I convinced myself trading Carter. People brought up 2 years ago to trade Carter Hart, and I said that was a terrible idea. And I wish we would have done that then too. The Philadelphia Flyers goaltending decisions have been some of the worst decisions. And every time we convince ourselves Brian Boucher is going to be good. Garth Snow is going to be the answer. All these guys are going to be the thing. And every time it fails. I think we're still paying Bryzgalov's contract right now. He's like the Bobby Bonilla of the NHL right now. Yeah, stop the Hunter Biden talk. Abandoning the gold standard was elite. Yeah, that is right. Phil, I always have bad ideas. I'm full of bad ideas. Doug Peterson is one of my top 5 Eagles because of that Super Bowl win, but it appears that he is going to second-guess the Philly special, but Foles walked away. Really, I don't know if he was second-guessed. I think he hesitated for a second on it. Yeah, sorry. Continue on there.
How'd you feel on the Andy Reid letting him go? Were you in the boat of people who wanted to keep him, or did you think that was a bad idea that was going to lead to?
I remember that very well because I was at the time, I wanted the team to be competitive every year or as frequently as possible. I knew we weren't going to win a Super Bowl with Andy Reid, but I thought it was time to move on from him, but I also feared the unknown because he had been here for so long. And I feared, you're 98% going to make the playoffs every year under Andy Reid, but just like Joel Embiid will come up small in the playoffs, Andy Reid always came up small in the playoffs for the Eagles. And I feared, and I think this is a great analogy. We're bringing one thing to the other. We're scared of getting rid of Joel Embiid because of the unknown once you move on from Joel Embiid. But you got to ask yourself, will you win a championship? It doesn't matter making the playoffs. It's about titles. Will we win a championship with Joel Embiid? We had to ask ourselves the same thing with Andy Reid. It's just, I think it's a question you have to ask yourself. You got to draw parallels to the other sports with this kind of stuff.
And what about I messaged you this yesterday when you brought up the topic. But what about James Franklin in Penn State?
See,
I'm sure a lot of people thought that was a really bad idea, but then they convinced themselves because he was a SEC coach who had back-to-back 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt, and he had that one good year with who was the running back? Zach Stacy. I think Jordan Matthews was on that team where he had but look what it's led to. He'll always be the little brother of Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten.
So I'm going to counter your Penn State and James Franklin question or comment that you convinced yourself he was going to be a good coach. I'm going to counter that with a different Penn State thing. And what it is I don't give a crap about James Franklin. I don't give a crap about Penn State. We have convinced ourselves wrongly that as a Philadelphia native that Penn State's our school. Screw that. Penn State's 4 hours away. I can care two rats' ass about Penn State football. And I don't understand why Penn State football is our team. We don't have a football team in college in Philadelphia. Temple's the only option, and Temple stinks and has for my entire lifetime as a football team. I think they had one good year, and it was what's his name, and he went right to the pros after that one good year, and then went back to college. We convince ourselves that Penn State has to be our college team when Penn State ain't anywhere near here. I can't stand Penn State. I think Penn State's a fake franchise or fake. I don't care about it. I hate Penn State. I don't get the love of Penn State. I don't get it.
I will say, I'm not a Penn State guy at all. Yeah, I'm not a Penn State guy at all. But I will say, when they have their whiteout night for the night game,
I do want to go to one of those.
That is goosebump with the way the camera angle is and everything. That is I
would love
a really
go.
Cool.
I would love, and you know what? If I went to a Penn State whiteout, I'd be taking pictures and videos and all. It'd be awesome. But I'd be the one person in the crowd dressed in black, just so you know, just to piss everybody off, just to make it. I would take my white shirt off, and there'd be a big black shirt on underneath, just because I'd have to be that one person that is completely different.
Stands out in every single ESPN video.
Absolutely. Who's that one idiot? Let's zoom in on it that's wearing black. Yeah, that would be me. Look, I don't get.
Thank you, Deebs, though, for that comment. I like that one. The hashtag Philly like Steve.
This is exactly right. It's like, just because you're Irish, you've got to be a Notre Dame fan. Why?
We're Catholic.
How many Irish people actually play for Notre Dame football?
How many Irish people even care about
Irish
actual American football?
I don't even think there's Irish people that play football. They don't know how to play football. They're too busy in the pub. I don't.
Or they're
get
saying
it.
They're talking about soccer, football. They're actually talking about football, footy,
real football. I don't get it. I don't get it. Well, we definitely don't want to root for Michigan because Jason is a Michigan State guy on Fairway to Heaven with me, and he hates Michigan. There's a huge Michigan State rivalry, obviously, and since he went to the Michigan State University, we hate Michigan just for Jason alone. But you're a Michigan fan?
No, not me.
Good.
No.
Good.
My dad went to Ohio State, so I am a huge Buckeye fan.
Gotcha.
So that'll be great.
See,
huge.
If you went to a college, that should be your college team. I graduated from Widener University, a D3 school, so I just could care less about college football. Because
my daughter talks crap all the time. She goes, "I'm gonna go swim. I'm really pushing to go swim at Penn State, Dad. So you have to wear Penn State swim gear." And I'm like, you know what? Why? Why did I create this monster?
The fact that your daughter already is talking trash like that to you, and what you say, she's 14, Your
14,
daughter's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I think you raised a smart daughter if that's the way she's already
She
thinking in life.
she would purposely wear Under Armour gear during the remember I told you I was a big LeBron guy. Or I
Yeah.
am a big LeBron guy. But when they would go up against those 4 years against Golden State, she would throw trash away from like a distance and be like, "Oh, Steph Curry." And I was like, "You know what you're doing. You're just nagging me on."
I love it. I love it. She's a girl after my own heart, purposely doing the opposite just to annoy somebody. That is literally what 75% of my life is, just doing the complete opposite to annoy people. Like I do. Like I do it just to see I do it just to see the reaction of somebody comes into the pizza shop and they ask for something. I'm like, no, we're all out of it. Sorry.
Like,
Just to see
oh,
their
okay.
reaction. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
turn around. They turn
I'm just
around like,
trying to get
"Oh,
a
okay."
rise out of people. It's like your daughter strikes me as like she could get like a full scholarship to Ohio State, but she'd be like, "No, Dad, I want to pay my full way to Ohio State just to go, just so you have to wear, Penn State." Like that's exactly the kind of thing I would do, and I love it. I love
No,
it.
it's spot on.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Steve's daughter will go places for sure. Well,
Yeah,
as long
to
as
help me get there too.
as long as she doesn't take advice from Steve, Duck, that's basically what it is,
No.
right?
Nope.
Dude, patience, K1. Patience is a virtue, okay? Um, I'm not a contrarian. Maybe I am a contrarian. Maybe a contrarian is just a nicer way of saying I'm an asshole. Is that the case there, Steve? Like, is it just
Fancy.
I'm not an
The
asshole.
fancy
I'm
way.
just a contrarian. When my wife calls me an asshole later today because she calls me one like 3 times a day, I'm just saying no. I'm a contrarian. That's all it
It's the
is.
pinky way up. It's the
Yeah,
pinky way
yeah,
up of
that's
calling
right. It's the
someone an
pinky
ass.
way up. I'm annoyed that I already put that one up there. As a kid, I liked the Celtics to be opposite of my older brother. Yeah, well, that was not a good one. Okay, that was not a good idea right there.
How many like Nets fans or Jets fans, Mets fans are there in this world because of their dads or bigger brothers being Yankees fans, Giants fans, Knicks fans, just for that exact reason, just to be opposite of their older brothers.
I mean, there are. There's probably a lot of them. I get it.
And they're
Not a
diehards
contrarian.
now too. They're like they're stuck with them
Yeah.
because of it. For the he
And
should
being an a-hole, being a contrarian is not a legal thing. Like you can't call David Archeri the Cherry Law Firm just because you disagree on a sports topic. But if you've been injured at work or in a motor vehicle accident or affected by criminal law, then you call David Archeri at 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com and he will fight for you and get you what you deserve. David Archeri is one of the best lawyers in the state of Pennsylvania. Give him a call. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. Cherryinjurylaw.com. Let him fight for your rights. David Archeri right there. There we go. See, I snuck it in. You guys weren't expected. When you don't expect the ad read, that's when the ad read comes. And again, we're getting on the final 25, 30 minutes of the show. Guys, Train the AM right here on Edge of Philly. Make sure you hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe, that follow button. We are here 5 days a week. Well, I'm here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Steve's checking in with me today. Guys, special Big Al's taking over on Thursday for the day while I do my monthly Amazon order for the pizza shop. Guys, make sure you show Big Al just as much love and support on Thursday as you show me every single morning. And guys, make sure you're following my man Steve here at Soldier Steve 247 on all social media platforms as well. He kicks ass covering the Union for EOP and doing all different stuff here. Yeah, we'll just fire through all these cherry bombs that are in the comment because, yeah, it wasn't a great ad read, but it was a great segue to the. I think my segue was better than the actual ad read today. But I know you guys
that was
love
a
great
good one.
segues. They love like Steve. What's it like when you just pop into the comments and you just see 20 straight cherries pop up in the comments? You know, was I a fan of Monday Night Raw
It's funny
last night?
because I only see the YouTube ones usually because that's where I'll usually watch. So
Yeah,
seeing all the Facebook ones and everything,
they're
it's like,
all over
man,
the place.
holy cherry bombs, holy.
Man, I did not watch much of Monday Night Raw. I watched like 2 segments and that was it. Dude, I was exhausted, man. Yesterday it was a long, busy day at the pizza shop. It's hot this week. The pizza shop's hot. I'm going to be extra cranky this week. Weeks like this when we're in heat waves make me very cranky, Mitch. So I was very cranky. I was in bed by like 10:15 last night. People believe I'm contrarian when actually I just happen to be always. Oh, so you're not an a-hole like me. You're just always right. Got it. No, me, I admit the first step to being a better person is accepting when you're an a-hole. And then you can move on to be a better person. Yeah, that's right. The wise are always right. That is for sure. Guys, I want to segue a little bit here. We talked a little bit about the Phillies. I do want to talk a little Phillies today as well. A couple other things before we talk Phillies. Two little things in the news. One thing I missed. I had it written in my notes, and I forgot to bring it up yesterday. Steve, I'm not sure how old you are. I know you're younger than me, but not that much younger than me. Do you know what yesterday was the 30th anniversary of?
No.
O.J. Simpson car chase, Bronco chase. And I wanted to bring it
Oh,
up
wow.
because I remember it so well and where I was and what I was doing. Like it was 30 years ago yesterday was the O.J. chase.
There was a lot that day too.
Yeah.
Like sports wise, I think 30 for 30 did an
So
episode on.
you know what the best thing about the O.J. chase was? Not the other sports things that happened. And the reason why I'm saying this, because I'm going to draw a lot of parallels. I'm going to, the strings all over the board, they're all going to connect to the O.J. thing. Do you know who blames O.J. and the car chase for their music career failing in the United States?
Oh,
The
dang, who
Hawkman.
was performing?
David Hasselhoff, Knight Rider, Baywatch star. He was a huge international musician, sold out arenas all over Germany and Europe combined. Huge. So his first concert in the United States, he booked this big arena. He sold and then gave away boatload of tickets. It was going to stream on pay-per-view that night of the car chase. And nobody watched it. And he blames the O.J. car chase for that. He says he said this in interviews before that David Hasselhoff goes backstage to change mics, and all the producers and all the stage techs that were working his concert were all huddled around a TV screen watching the O.J. Bronco chase instead of doing the stage stuff that he needed for his concert. So he blames O.J. Simpson for his music career failing miserably. Little random bit of information that I don't know why I know, but because I liked Knight Rider so much,
There you go.
I know that information there. So random bit of information there. That was 30 years ago yesterday. And I forgot to bring that up.
I would have been 6. I would have been 6 when that was going on.
I was 13, 14. I remember my dad worked a second job really early in the morning, but I woke him up because he was in bed at like 5 o'clock that night for his second job and all. And I woke him up. And even though he had to be up for work at like 2 a.m., we sat there in his bedroom watching on his little TV the chase the entire night. Like we watched it. We just sat there together watching the whole thing because he was as enthralled as I was in that.
And wasn't it the Knicks? The Knicks were in the finals, right?
Were they? I think so.
The Rangers had won. I think they clinched the Stanley Cup that night. So there was tons of things. Wasn't Mike Tyson boxing that night or something like that too?
I don't know about that one.
There was tons of different things. Yeah, no, yeah. There's a big 30 for 30 on that day because of all the events that happened, and then also what trumped it all was the O.J. Simpson chase.
I love it. I'm just a huge fan of cheesy 80 TV shows. So David Hasselhoff, part of it, always there was a whole set, he was probably part of that ESPN 30 for 30, but there was a whole 30-minute YouTube video or something like that, just produced by David Hasselhoff, just complaining about OJ solely. And it's hilarious. I honestly
love
have
that
never
part
seen
of
Euro Trip. Guys, everybody's talking about Euro Trip, and I've never seen it. So
that part of Click where he freezes him and he farts in his face and he's like, I taste shit.
Yeah. One other random thing before we talk Phillies for about 10 minutes. Do you know who Terrell Lewis is?
No, I was supposed to look that up.
Terrell Lewis is a linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, someone we signed to a 1-year contract. And he was in the news yesterday because he was trying to, well, to use very inappropriate, words, smash and run. He basically hired a hooker, and after he was done, ran away, and TMZ leaked the video of the naked hooker running down the hotel room hallway after him looking for money. I don't even know who Terrell Lewis is, but yet he is on the. So while the other channels are talking about Jalen Hurts versus Nick Sirianni beef again, we're talking Terrell Lewis not wanting to pay his adult escort for her services from the night. And there is some video clips of him actually performing on his escort for the night as well floating around. Guys, like, who in the world is Terrell Lewis, and why is he my favorite Eagle now? And I want him to make the team as a linebacker now just for this drama.
When you search people and it usually goes to like their Wikipedia and stuff like that, you search him and the first thing that pops up is a picture of him running off the field with his head down, and then all the videos of TMZ, Reddit, and every.
Knowing Howie Roseman, they probably cut him instantly like that after that. Howie Roseman doesn't like that kind of drama around. Like, I Google searched who he was yesterday, and I didn't read anything interesting. I just wrote down he's a linebacker. Like, my whole entire research into who Terrell Lewis is I wrote down linebacker and then nothing else, because I know he's not a guy that's going to be on this team for very long at all. I just thought that was really funny. Thought I would throw that out there as well. Trying to do some math here as well. 10. Anyway. So let's talk a little Phillies for a little bit here. Obviously, some people actually wanted Phillies talk in the conversation. So Phillies last night get Trea Turner back. They get home for the first time in what feels like 18 years. They get to sleep in their own bed for the first time in ages, et cetera, et cetera. First and foremost, they demoted Johan Rojas. It's the right move, but the wrong move, in my opinion. They're getting Mundo Sosa some playing time in left field during batting practice, trying to teach him that position. But it's kind of weird. It's like Trea Turner's back. They get home in front of the Citizens Bank crowd, and a light switch was clicked, and the Phillies were right back. They had 4 home runs last night on the game. They won 9-2. Pitching was great all of a sudden again. Steve, was it really as simple as just getting back home, getting back in your own bed, getting back to your normal routine versus, I forget, Big Al put out a tweet yesterday while he was at the park because he was covering the Phillies from the media area for EOP. They traveled something like 18,000 miles in the last 2 weeks, and so I forget what the number was they tweeted out. Is it simply just getting home and it just that comfortability? That's all this team needed to get out of their rut,
and getting healthy and getting your guys back, right?
Yeah.
Getting that's those sort of things bring the camaraderie back together. And so when you have Marsh out, and that injury came out of nowhere, and so he got back, then you get Trea Turner. We thought he was going to be back this weekend for the Orioles. Then that got pushed to last night. But when you get those sort of things, and you know what it's like, you say you were out on sea doing stuff on a cruise ship. So you know what it's like to finally be able to be back home. It does wonders. So
absolutely.
Yeah, 18 hits in a game. I mean, when was the last time you saw that from really any team throughout the league? And at home, that energy on a Monday night, that ballpark was packed. And yeah, of course, for the return of Trea Turner and stuff like that. But it's almost like in basketball when you see the ball go through the net, and in hockey when you get that first goal. Once you see that the ball coming off the end of the bat like that, it's contagious, and everyone wants a piece of it. So it was nice to see in front of the home crowd. There's nothing like the home crowd in Philly. It doesn't. I don't care what anybody says. It's biased, whatever. When fans from other teams come to that ballpark, they instantly know. It's like, dang, this is a Monday night. You look at what's going on in Oakland. Can you imagine that in Philly? Nope. So I think, yeah, absolutely. Just being home, your own bed.
And obviously, Fred, we know they're going to lose games. And we had Luke Arcani on a few times, but the last time he was on, he was like, guys, remember, they're going to lose 5 in a row at some point. I heard during the broadcast last night. I forget who was it. Ben Davis was on the call with McCarthy last night. I think it was Ben Davis. Um, he said, like the ERA of the last rotation through the starting rotation, the last trip through the starting rotation for the Phillies before last night, combined the five stars had like an 8.8 ERA. So you knew that there's always going to be that downward, tick with these teams. But it just so happened that downward tick happened also during a terribly written schedule. You know what I mean? Having the road games, the London games, and more road games, and just the constant travel that this team went through, you had to know. And I remember talking about 2 weeks ago on the show, what would be an acceptable record over that 8-game stretch? And I'm like, 4-4, 5-3, what would it be? And everybody was expecting more. I'm like, no, I mean, like 4-4 would be acceptable. And I think they went 3-5 during that stretch. I think they're 6-5 in their last 11 going to last night. Like, we know it was going to happen. You're not winning all 162 games. I just think that all the travel, like Steve said, get in front of the home crowd. And look, the home crowd's not just in Philly. Let's be honest. The home crowd was in Baltimore as well. The home crowd was up in Boston. The home crowd was in London. The great thing about everybody bashes Philly fans all the time. All Philly sports fans. Philly sports fans support their team, not just in Philly, but everywhere. They travel well. And it's going to be a home game for literally Philly, wherever they go, the rest of the season, in my opinion.
No, and the one thing that I was going to bring up was you look at it, it almost brings you out of slumps. How many people
Yeah.
always get on Kaz for, oh, he can't hit and everything. He's been really, really playing. He's been hitting great these last few weeks. And to harp back on your point about, you're not going to win every single game and you're going to go through these losing stretches. I don't mind it as long as you're losing to good teams. It's when you're losing to bad teams throughout these stretches where it's like, okay, something else is got to give because this team isn't good. There's no reason why you should lose to them. It's okay if you're going to lose to teams who just have as many good players
Mm-hmm.
or are just hitting the ball and pitching great in certain moments. But, you know, to lose the series to the Red Sox and to the Orioles, it sucks,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like they got swept. It's not like they got, I wouldn't say they got dominated in all three games, sort of
Mm-hmm.
deal. But for them to be able to bounce back at home with this sort of performance, it makes those losses kind of like you can put it back behind your head and rear view mirror sort of deal.
Absolutely agree. And do you agree or disagree with the Rojas being demoted thing? Because in my mind, I don't like the idea, but I understand the idea. But the reasoning behind the idea isn't necessarily like he needs every day at bats, and I get that. And going down to the minors gives him that chance to play every day. I get that. But he is part of the future. You don't want to hopefully mentally he's strong enough to understand he's going back to the minors to get better. And it's not a demotion, so to speak. It's an opportunity to be better. But in theory, keeping Dahl, keeping Pache, keeping Whit Merrifield on the roster, like none of those guys will be on the roster once Dave Dombrowski makes a trade. So like you're gonna give those opportunities to the other guys. Whit Merrifield, you cut him right now. Who cares? Dahl, DFA him. No one's gonna claim him off of waivers. Pache, do you really care about losing him to another team? Like, I don't think any of those things really. The only reason why I'm okay with Rojas is because he's going to get better by being in the minors. But outside of that, they did it because they keep saying, well, he had more options available. The other guys didn't have demotion options that would have to go through waivers. Who cares? Like, if that was your reason you demoted him, that was the wrong reason. If it was because you want him to be a better player, big picture, that's fine. But if it's because you're worried about risking losing Whit Merrifield or Christian Pache, like who cares? I think their thought process was wrong. They made the right decision, but their reasoning was wrong for it.
And it's my biggest thing is what you chimed on, and then what Deebs is saying here
Yeah.
is what does that do for you then mentally?
Mm-hmm.
You want someone to get better by dropping them down to the minors and to be getting more reps, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he's got all-star votes and he's going to be in the minors. What does that do for your mental if you're like, what did I like? Why am I down here if I'm getting the votes?
Well, if you look, and
And
you're bringing up the All-Star voting, like if you look, I mean, Nick Castellanos is in the top 10 of All-Star voting. Rojas is. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Like, and this is not a knock on Alec Bohm. I think Alec Bohm is having a phenomenal season, and he 1,000% deserves to start in the All-Star game. But do you realize that he's got the fourth most votes in all of baseball, all positions
yeah,
combined? It's
I
Harper,
think he's
it's
starting.
Ohtani, and I forget who the third is, and then it's Alec Bohm. Like,
I think they have him starting.
yeah. Is Alec Bohm the fourth best player in baseball right now? Probably not. But he's got the fourth most votes. So the Philly fans show up to support our team. The Philly fans are also stuffing the ballot box massively. There's a lot of Phillies fans that are just checking Phillies on the boxes, and I get that. But
Mhm.
you know, I don't think the All-Star votes are what's in Rojas's mind. I hope Rojas is smart enough to understand that it's not a demotion, it's an opportunity. I think there's a key word there, demotion versus opportunity there. And on
And I think
Colin's
that's where
comment,
the youth. I like this. Yeah, this
yeah.
one right here. I
Well,
was going to
and
say
Lewis Robert is not necessarily the only option. There are quite a few great options for the outfield, and I 100,000% expect Dave Dombrowski will get one of the 2 or 3 best hitting prospects that are out there, without a shadow of a doubt. No doubt in my mind that this or something similar will happen. And just remember something, Colin. The last time the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship was 2008. Who won the World Series in 2008? The Philadelphia Phillies. So just throwing that out there. Just throwing, if you like little Easter
the
eggs,
universe.
little Easter eggs.
The universe is telling us.
Yeah, the universe is telling. It depends on how they explained it to Rojas. It does. Because the way they explained it
Mhm.
to us was because he had options. Now, Rob Thompson said, well, yeah, we want him to work on cutting his swing down and bun. Yeah, they gave him specific details. But he's probably hearing it. It was because he's got options left. I'm sure he will be back at some point, though. Philly
I
has a
think
storied
sooner rather
history.
than later.
Election interference. What in the blue moon are you talking about, K1? Get that out of there. You know what has a storied history? Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. For 65 plus years, they've been the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County, 24 East Sellers Avenue, my old hometown of Ridley Park area. Make sure you go down there. Check out PJ and the gang there, dolansbar.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media platforms they are on. Tell PJ you heard about him right here on EOP and Trending in the AM. Tell him you want him to have Trending in the AM live at 8 a.m. from Dolan's Bar. We can do Bloody Marys and talk sports. Dolan's Bar, make sure you check them out, dolansbar.com. And guys, this weekend, make sure you check out our friends at Philly Press Box Radio, Chet and Company, celebrating their 500th episode live from the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA. 3 Flyers legends, Joe Watson, Jim Jackson, Lou Nolan will be there, and it'll be a live show. Great stuff from them. And congratulations to them for making 500 episodes. 10 years of Philly Press Box Radio. That's a long time to be doing this. I don't know. Steve, would you think so 10 years would be 6 more years of me doing YouTube shows? You think I could survive 6 more years of doing this with the core 12 nagging me all day long for 12 more or for 6 more years? Do you think I can survive?
If you're with EOP, yeah. Hell
Ah,
yeah.
see, I like what you did there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like what you did there. Look, people call me a flip flopper on my opinions. People call me a flip flopper for my network. So I've been with quite a few. But I go to who wants me the most, you know? So as long as Big Al wants me, you know, Big Al will have me here, you know? So
Lock it in.
anyone
When
else here
Joel
that
signs his big contract, lock it in. We'll lock it in with Phil. Sign a big
yeah.
6-year
I need a 10-year,
contract.
$300 million
Yeah.
contract. You
There
can
you
give me
go,
the
right?
Bobby Bonilla payment plan, but I still want it.
Oh,
There's a scout that called Aiden Miller the best Phillies prospect he's seen since Mike Schmidt. That is a bold, bold comparison. Calling him the next Mike Schmidt. Wow.
mm.
He's
What'd
untouchable.
you think of Trey?
What do you mean?
How'd you think he looked?
Oh, Trey Turner, I
Running,
think he looked good. I mean,
hitting, yeah.
see, I'm not a fan of anybody just because they're superstars not having a minor league assignment to get back from an injured. Like I want you to go get a couple reps in a minor league game or two. But he looked good considering he hadn't seen live hitting for what 30-some games. So he looked good. I just want to touch on this. There is no such thing as an untradeable prospect. Every single prospect is tradable. Remember, Don Brown was untouchable. Michael Taylor was untouchable. Lou Marson was untouchable. I go on and on. Kyle Drabeck, Adam Morgan. There are a million untouchable prospects that we can't miss, and they all turned into the only Phillies prospect we've traded in the last 15 years that turned out to be even anything remotely good was Carlos Carrasco. And Carlos Carrasco, he was an all-star, but he had a lot of injuries anyway. So that's it. In 6 years, Phil will make EOP totally legitimate. But, there'll still be some illegitimate things going on the side. That's just a gangster reference right there. If Big Al wants Phil, Big Al gets Phil. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I knew there was going to be some kind of a dirty joke mixed in there for sure. There always is a dirty joke mixed in, or 3 or 20 on Trending in the AM. We can't go an episode without some controversy, right?
That's what makes it, right? That's what makes 90 minutes, right? Go by as fast as it does.
I guess. Look, everybody's been asking for it. Steve asked me to do this today. Everybody, well, not everybody. Mitchie Poo keeps asking for it. It's my Adam Sandler top 5 movie list. That's what everybody keeps asking for, okay? Well, as everybody, as in Mitchie Poo. So I'm going to give you, Steve, my top 5 Adam Sandler movie list, okay? And I want you to grade it on a scale to 1 to 10, my ranking, okay? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. This is my top 5. Okay, first and foremost, I want to give you my honorable mentions, okay? My honorable mentions in no particular order. Murder Mystery 2, not Murder Mystery 1, Murder Mystery 2, the second Netflix movie he did with Jennifer Aniston, was way better than the first. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Hustle, the basketball movie he did on Netflix. His Netflix movies are actually pretty entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed Hustle. It wasn't a great movie, but I enjoyed the story. And Grown Ups 1. I thought Grown Ups 1 was good. Not great, but a good, fun movie. I don't typically like movies that have huge ensemble casts of huge amounts of stars. I don't like them, okay? But so Grown Ups, Murder Mystery 2, Hustle, honorable mentions, okay? Number 5 on my Adam Sandler all-time list, Punch Drunk Love, okay? Great movie. Number 4, this is the first controversial selection on my list. Number 4, I've got Billy Madison, that far down the list. Some consider his best movie. I consider his 4th best movie. Number 3, the most controversial movie I will name on this list, Little Nicky. I think Little Nicky is a phenomenal Adam Sandler movie, and I laugh my ass off nonstop when I see Little Nicky on TV. Okay? Most people think I'm nuts for putting it in my top 5, period, let alone in my top 3. Number 2 is The Water Boy. Number 1 is obviously Happy Gilmore. So, Gilmore 1, Water Boy 2, Little Nicky 3, Billy Madison 4, Punch Drunk Love 5. Grade me on a scale of 1 to 10. How awful is my list? Or how great is it?
It's not awful. I was never a fan of Little Nicky.
I love Little Nicky. I knew that
is
would
my
get somebody.
only. Yeah, that is my only one I would just take out completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the honorable mention ones. Mm-hmm. Those are good. And I'm with you on the Netflix movies.
Yeah.
They're not always like going to be A+, but the story they're telling,
they're entertaining.
I can sit there and watch it. Yeah.
They're entertaining. Yeah. They're good, stupid movies where you could sit there, watch, and not freak out.
Yeah. No, so for this, if I'm taking off Little Nicky, so I'll take 2 points off for that. So I'll give you an 8. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
All right. I'll take 8 out of 10. I will accept that. Man, Duck's got The Water Boy at number 7 on his list. Bobby Boucher at number 7. I considered taking The Water Boy off my top 5 just to piss people off. But I still got to say it's a pretty damn good movie. It's pretty funny. Not on my list, but shout out to you. Are so not invited to my it's I actually have never seen that one. I know what you're talking about.
It's pretty good.
Seen that. Zohan or no, that's not a good movie. I thought 10 was the best. The Wedding Singer. I'm not a fan of The Wedding Singer. I don't think it's that funny, honestly. Adam Sandler's Eight
Really?
Crazy Nights. Yeah, it's good for sure. Um, man, I honestly forgot about anger management. I'll
Big
put it in
Daddy.
my honorable mentions. It's not going to crack my top 5. Thinking about it instantly, that would be my an honorable mentions. Wedding Singer, Uncut, Punch Drunk Love, Water. Oh, so it's backwards. 51st Dates suck too. I can't stand Drew Barrymore. I've never liked a
Yeah.
single thing she's ever done. She's terrible. So overrated. So, Doug,
For her to be the
no
main
offense.
character.
I know this show, Steve, is called Train the AM, where your opinions actually matter. Your opinions matter, except for Duck's opinions on Adam Sandler movies. That's the only opinion that doesn't matter on this show. Happy Gilmore is the best. The Price is right. Yeah, you can't not put Happy Gilmore at number 1. I actually tried to find a way to not put Happy Gilmore 1, but I'm like, no, it's not happening. Wedding Singer, I can honestly say, when I see it on, I've seen it 2 or 3 times. Now, when I see it on TV, I grab the clicker and I click it.
Julia Gulia?
I can't get behind it. Happy Gilmore 2 will be the reason why I re-sign up for Netflix. Whether I don't know, either Happy Gilmore 2 or Beverly Hills Cop 4 will be the reason why I sign up for Netflix again. But yeah, Phil hates E.T. You heard it here. E.T. E.T. is massively overrated. Why? Because Drew Barrymore's in it. Even 2-year-old Drew Barrymore I didn't like. Just go with it.
Summer
Yeah.
movie too.
Shooter McGavin is one of the best Twitter. Oh, absolutely. Shooter McGavin. I tried so hard to get Shooter McGavin to come on a show. I have shouted him out 1,000 times, and he will not respond to any of my comments. I'm trying and trying. Fairway to Heaven. I tried to get him when the whole Scotty Scheffler arrest happened to come on. Just I haven't been able to reach out to him. I can't get a hold of him. Longest Yard stinks. Plain and simple. It's a terrible movie. It's stupid as can be. E.T. was good when it came out. Not watchable now. Agree with that 100%. I would watch a Shooter McGavin. Yeah, we need a Shooter McGavin prequel. A Shooter McGavin origin story. Okay, where he goes from the young upstart golfer to the cocky Shooter McGavin. We need a Shooter McGavin origin story. Writing it down. I'm going to shout him out again. Shooter origin story. See, I love writing things down, except for when I write things down that I can't read the notes later on. I don't think I'd have ET in my top 10. I don't think I'd have it in any list. Guys, we got to start the wrap. We're already into overtime here. We're 2 minutes past 9:30, and it's a work day for me, as every day is a work day. So we got to start the wrap-up process. But Spielberg is overrated in general. I got to think about that. I don't know if I agree with that. Spielberg, overrated?
I wouldn't say overrated.
I don't know about that. But, yeah, I think that's a...
Maybe not my top, but...
Yeah. If I would do a Shooter McGavin documentary style, that would be... I would love a Shooter McGavin documentary thing like that for sure. Guys, we got to wrap it up. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. Bring all these comments. We'll talk Phillies more. We'll talk more Sixers, maybe Phillies, or maybe some Eagles. There was something else. It was the anniversary of a movie coming out, and I want to talk about it tomorrow. One of the most underappreciated ensemble movies of all time. Okay? One of the greatest movies was in 1990, and the anniversary of when it was released was yesterday. One of the greatest. It won Oscars, okay? And nobody ever talks about this multi-Oscar winning movie. Okay, it won costume design, it won supporting actor, and I know Madonna was nominated for a supporting actress role. I don't think she won it. It was Dick Tracy, starring Warren Beatty as Detective Dick Tracy, Al Pacino as, it had an all-star cast. So we're going to talk a little Dick Tracy tomorrow as well. Jim Carrey movies next. All right, we'll save it for another day. I just got to fire through these. I got to wrap this up, guys. I can't even read all these comments because we are way too late here. Guys, with that being said, you are watching Trending in the AM on Edge of Philly. Who's Tracy? Dick Tracy, the detective, the comic book movie. Yeah. Guys, got to hit that like button, subscribe button. You got to join in every single Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. for the #1 morning show. Complain about the dial all you want. The only way you make a difference is by turning the dial off, turning us on here on Trending the AM and Edge of Philly. 7-day-a-week programming right here. I have a graphic up here, all the shows. I'll be back tonight, 6 o'clock with Fairway to Heaven with Jason Sullivan and my man Stevie here next to me, recapping the U.S. Open, talking this week's Travelers Championship. There are 6 shows counting me on this channel today. So this is the place to be for all your Philadelphia and sports talk in general, Edge of Philly Sports, guys. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, follow button, guys, wherever you are watching. With that being said, for Steve Fuentes, I am Phil Stiefel. This is Trend the AM, Edge of Philly Sports. Go Birds. Ring that bell and bubbles up, guys.